Roy Rogers, the legendary cowboy hero, was a symbol of honor and Hollywood's golden era. However, behind the scenes, things weren't as perfect as they seemed. Hollywood executives tried to change him, even altering his appearance. How did he handle this amid the family struggles he faced? Recently, his daughter has revealed things that many never knew about this icon. What surprising story did Julie Rogers uncover, and why did she wait this long? Let's find out. The making of a legend. Roy Rogers, as many knew him until his passing, was not born with that name. Many thought he changed his name because he wanted to fit in. However, it turned out that was never his decision. You might be surprised to hear that, but many other things have been revealed recently about this music icon. Before we unveil the shocking revelation, let's rewind to Roy's baby steps. The year 1911 birthed one of the most phenomenal stars in Hollywood. At the time of his birth in Cincinnati, Ohio, he was given the name Leonard Franklin Sly. His wonderful parents, Andrew and Mattie Sly, were individuals plagued with the economic challenges that their time presented. But regardless of this, they were still very humble. Leonard was born into a very modest home, and his family's financial situation made him grow into a life of hard work and perseverance. However, from a young age, Leonard loved one thing: music. He was constantly amazed and enveloped in how rich the music that flowed through his household was. One of the things that contributed immensely to this was that Leonard's father, Andrew, was also an adept musician. Occasionally, Andrew gathered his entire family to sing traditional folk songs and hymns. These moments were very important to young Leonard because they showed him how music can unite people and bring them together. With this revelation came an ignited passion for music. This led Leonard to learn the guitar and also master the art of yodeling. To him, music was his sanctuary, and it offered him an escape from the rigors that daily life presented. This passion, however, was almost destroyed by the financial hardships that his family faced. It meant just one thing: Leonard had to work several jobs to support his family. Ironically, the jobs he did initially had no relation to the music industry. He engaged in tasks like factory work and other meaner jobs. Through it all, though, he was still very committed to music, and he loved it immensely. His love for music drove him to begin presenting at local venues, which helped him hone his craft, while also dreaming of a future where he could perform on a global scale and bring people together with his music, just like his father did. Leonard continued in the path of music for a while until he finally started seeing the light. His first pivotal moments happened in the early 1930s when he co-founded the Sons of the Pioneers. This Western musical group was very engaging and captivating. The blend of their harmonies with the lyrics always spoke to many people and made them fall in love with the brand. Some of the songs that placed them on the map were Tumbling Tumbleweeds and Cool Water. These songs made them popular, and the more they grew, the more Hollywood noticed them. Soon, a renowned studio known for its films, Republic Pictures, saw Leonard's potential and signed him. They were also amazed by his wonderful charisma. However, after picking the young man to be part of their studio, they noticed that his name was not really marketable, so they needed to come up with a more marketable name, especially for his on-screen persona. After much consideration, they eventually opted for the name Roy Rogers. The name was chosen to embody the accessibility of the American cowboy. Roy was selected to portray his simplicity and strength, while Rogers was chosen to pay homage to the beloved humorist and cowboy Will Rogers. To Roy, This rebranding was much more than a simple name change. It was the beginning of better things to come, or as many loved to describe it, the birth of a legend. After the change of his name, Republic Pictures got to work on crafting Roy Rogers' image. They needed it so skillfully and wanted to maintain bravery, integrity, and kindness. He was mostly seen with the iconic white hat, which showed his purity and moral clarity. The making of Roy Rogers was done with deliberate actions. This resonated with the audience and later confirmed his status as the king of the cowboys. However, Roy's appeal was not just for the silver screen. His music showed that he had a dedication to wholesome entertainment. Whenever he collaborated with the Sons of the Pioneers, his songs always celebrated how simple and beautiful Western life truly is, almost wanting everyone to live such a phenomenal life. His music also painted a very clear image of the American frontier, and it evoked in people a sense of nostalgia and wanderlust. Roy was very intentional about the delivery of his music, and he always ensured that it was filled with messages of love, faith, and honor. Often, he would leave the negative parts of life and focus on lyrics about the virtues of honesty, the strength of a community, and the solace that people could find in nature. Roy focused so much on positive and uplifting music that it was very easy to access, and it became delightful to people of all ages. Just like when he was little, families could gather around the radio or even attend his performances because they knew that his music would reinforce in them the values that they already cherished. Roy would have been easily tempted to digress into another style of singing, because by the time he began experimenting with his style of music, Hollywood was also experimenting with a more complex and morally ambiguous narrative. Nevertheless, Roy did not let this bother him, and he kept true to his craft. From a young age, he had seen just how powerful the media can be, and he had decided to use the same platform to promote positive role models and encourage ethical storytelling. He was very intentional with his delivery. He constantly ensured that all his films and television shows were characterized by morals, which clearly distinguished between what was right and what was wrong. These storylines once again made people understand the difference between good and evil. In his movies, his characters usually resolved conflicts without violence. This made people know that justice can be achieved honorably. By going via this route, Roy was able to differentiate himself from his contemporaries. He also made a larger audience so endeared to him that they constantly sought after his content to align with their values. When Roy saw how loved he was by the public, he knew he would have to deliver something that would stand the test of time. So the Roy Rogers Show was formed. The show aired from 1951 to 1957, and each episode spoke to the audience. It delivered different adventures and moral lessons, but the best part was that it enforced the ideals of loyalty, courage, and kindness. However, Roy Rogers' life was not just surrounded by fame and fortune. Aside from his Hollywood life, his personal life was filled with heartbreaking loss and profound love that helped him move forward. Let's unveil some hidden details about his personal life: love, loss, and heartache. Back in the 1930s, when Roy was still pursuing his dreams to make it big in the music industry, he met a very bright and caring young woman named Grace Arlene Wilkins. The two met in Roswell, New Mexico, and this was where their love story began. They had a few years of courtship before they eventually tied the knot on the 14th of June, 1936. By the time the two got married, Roy was not a family household name, and he was still working extremely hard to make it into show business. Particularly, he was busy singing with the Sons of the Pioneers. but he had started to appear in minor film roles. Roy's music resonated with different families in his vicinity. While his music career was taking off, Roy and Arlene were eager to start a family of their own so that they too could have children who would enjoy the music. Unfortunately, they were having trouble conceiving. However, the couple did not allow their condition to tear them apart or bring them down. Instead, they opted for a very noble decision: adoption. The couple was filled with so much joy at their decision, and by 1941, they welcomed a baby girl named Cheryl Darlene into their family. Cheryl was a wonderful child, and this made it easier for the couple to embrace parenthood with very open arms. One of the things that stood out the most was that despite Roy's extremely busy schedule and demanding career, he still made time to be a very devoted husband and father. The family felt so happy, and they loved that they went ahead with the adoption. Still, Arlene dreamed of having children of her own, and her husband could understand her plight. So they kept trying to conceive while loving Cheryl entirely. Soon their prayers were answered, and Arlene became pregnant. This news was met with so much joy, and by 1943, she finally gave birth to a healthy baby girl that they named Linda Lou. During the pregnancy, the family was filled with joy and worry because Arlene's pregnancy was not an easy journey. Her health was extremely delicate during that period, and to top it all, the birth was extremely taxing on her physically. This situation made Roy extremely concerned, and he did not have any clue how he could help. However, Arlene was determined to continue growing their family, despite all the risks involved in it. After giving birth to Linda Lou, she became pregnant once again in 1946, and when they were rejoicing, they were also bothered about what the pregnancy would do to her. As the months rolled by, they realized the pregnancy was much more complex than the last. At this point, the couple began praying for a miracle. They prayed day and night for a safe delivery. But unfortunately, fate had other plans. On the 28th of October, 1946, Roy and Arlene welcomed their third child into the world. They gave him the name Roy Rogers, Jr., and they also gave him the nickname Dusty. Unfortunately, this particular delivery was not the routine and traditional one, and Arlene had to undergo a cesarean section. At that time, not much was known about this surgery, making it riskier than it is today. Though Dusty was born healthy, Arlene's condition grew much worse. According to the doctors, she suffered from a lot of complications, and they were mostly due to blood clots, which tragically led to a fatal embolism. So a few days after bringing her son Dusty into this world, Arlene passed away on the 3rd of November, 1946. This left Roy devastated. Upon receiving the news, he felt numb and unable to move. The very love of his life, the very woman with whom he had shared all his dreams and struggles, was gone. And the only thing she left behind were the 3 beautiful children she had given him. Roy tried to find strength, but it felt almost impossible, and at 35 years old, he was left to raise the 3 children by himself. The weeks that followed his wife's passing were some of the hardest for Roy. He was slowly drowning in his grief, but at the same time, he was still trying to be strong for his children. The question that plagued him the most was, how was he to explain to his 3-year-old that their mother was not going to come back home? How was he expected to hold a newborn child, knowing fully well that the woman who gave birth to that child was no more? Despite all these questions, Roy understood one thing. He had to find the strength to keep moving forward. So he got strength from music, his faith, and his family. His bandmates at Sons of the Pioneers and his close friends continuously offered him unwavering support even when he did not ask for it. Even while grieving, Roy was still performing, and at that point, he used his songs to express his emotions. He understood that love was still a beautiful thing, and he never stopped believing. Little did he know that fate would give him another chance at happiness, a new beginning. Roy's second marriage. While Roy was still mourning, he never stopped singing and acting. He later appeared in the Cowboy and the Señorita film. Here, he met Dale Evans, a talented singer, actress, and writer. Roy was attracted to Dale because she had a very fascinating life. Dale had been married before and was a single mother who had endured personal hardships. She could feel his pain of losing someone dear and being left to take care of the products of their love alone. Dale was not just the typical Hollywood woman with a pretty face. She was extremely beautiful, but she also had characters that drew people closer to her. For one, she was extremely independent, strong-willed, and spiritual. Plus, she had a good head on her shoulders, which she usually used to excel in almost everything she did. Roy was drawn in by how professional the lady was, and soon their collaboration advanced into a very close friendship. Soon, Dale became one of Roy's favorite confidants. He enjoyed talking with her and laughing with her, and they soon began to build trust. Their shared love for music really brought them together, and one of the things that kept them was their Christian faith and the passion they both had for entertaining families. Soon their friendship blossomed into love, but Roy was hesitant to proceed with it. This was because he was still reeling from the pain he felt when he lost Arlene. Dale completely understood him and was extremely patient. She had once experienced grief, so she understood how crippling it could feel. Fortunately, her patience paid off because soon, Roy realized that love did not mean forgetting but honoring the past while still embracing the future. So with that, he set out to make a decision that would alter the course of his life. While he was performing at a rodeo in Chicago, he got a heartfelt but also impulsive idea. As he sat atop Trigger, a famous golden Palomino horse, he turned to Dale and asked, "Would you do me the absolute honor of being my wife?" It may not have been such a grand and elaborate proposal, but Dale loved every bit of it because it was purely Roy. It showed his simplicity, sincerity, and promises of a better life filled with love. However, Dale understood that she would not just be marrying Roy, but she was also going to become a mother to his 3 children. She needed to be sure that she was ready to enter a world that was greatly shaped by Arlene's memory. So she asked for some time to think about it. Roy understood her and gave her the time she needed. After praying and reflecting on it, Dale finally said yes. Their wedding was on the 31st of December, 1947, at a Flying L Ranch in Davis, Oklahoma. The wedding was not the standard book extravagant Hollywood wedding, but it was incredibly intimate, heartfelt, and was so full of love. Roy was pleased to be Dale's husband because he found a partner in her, and together they raised a blended family consisting of 9 children, some of whom were adopted. However, soon, their marriage became one of the most admired and enduring love stories in Hollywood history. The two built their relationship on faith, respect, and a shared mission. It was very obvious that they were not just a couple, but a team, on and off screen. They joined hands to start the Roy Rogers Show. Soon this television series became a staple for American families. This couple sang, acted, and raised their children together. Unfortunately, It wasn't too long before sorrow set in. What could have possibly brought sorrow to the loving family Roy and Dale built? Stay tuned for more details. The joy and sorrow of parenthood. When Roy Rogers and Dale Evans began to experience the good things of life, life happened. To everyone, they were highly celebrated as the king of the cowboys and the queen of the West. But at the same time, they were filled with immense joy and profound sorrow. This began with the birth of their daughter, Robin. This brought so much joy to Roy and Dale as they welcomed their first and only biological child together, Robin Elizabeth Rogers. The birth of Robin was a joyous occasion, but shortly after her birth, her parents received the most crippling and unexpected news. Robin had Down syndrome, a genetic condition that usually leads to developmental and intellectual delays. By the time this happened, society did not fully understand the illness, and there was a bit of stigma against people who had it. Society did not fully accept them, so most medical professionals always advised parents of such children to place the child in institutional care because they believed that these children would be unable to lead fulfilling lives. When Roy and Dale got this news, they immediately knew they wouldn't do that and chose a different path. They took Robin in and showered her with love and acceptance. They insisted that they would not follow the common practice of institutionalization and instead raise their daughter in their home and instill in her their family life. This decision challenged all the social norms, and it was also the turning point for people suffering from Down syndrome. It helped create an environment where they felt accepted and included. Later, Dale spoke about their experiences during that period in her book, Angel Unaware. In this book, she shared Robin's story and advocated for compassion and understanding. Unfortunately, Robin did not live long to see the fantastic impact that her parents' actions had on society because she contracted mumps, and this led to complications that proved to be fatal. She passed away just before her second birthday. Roy and Dale were devastated, but they found a reason to keep going. They became passionate advocates for every child with disaster, and because they already had a platform, they used it to promote acceptance and support. Dale's book, Angel Unaware, was the catalyst needed for change because it encouraged people in society to take a second look at the treatment of individuals with special needs. Just like that, the couple turned their pain into a mission to spread love and understanding. This experience inspired the couple to expand their family, and they decided to do that through adoption. They were determined to use this process and offer love and stability to the children who desperately needed it. One of the first children they adopted was Dodie Rogers, a Native American infant. They welcomed Dodie into the family when she was 7 months old. Her arrival brought joy and diversity. Nevertheless, the lady was surrounded by so much love and support that she eventually married John Patterson, a NASA employee. The two then went on to have Kristen, their daughter. Next, they adopted Sandy. In the Roy and Dale home, Sandy was provided with a loving home and a father figure. Soon the young man developed a passion for music, and just like his parents, he began to pursue a career in the entertainment industry. The next child to be adopted was Debbie, and with all these children, the family carried a legacy of compassion and generosity. However, life wasn't all rosy for Roy, as fame often attracted challenges, and he had his fair share. The hardships behind the fame. In 1954, another tragedy set in. That year, they adopted the 12-year-old Korean girl, Deborah Lee, also known as Debbie Rogers, who was a wonderful child. Her presence gave the Rogers so much joy, showing how committed they were to providing love and care. However, on the 17th of August, 1964, Debbie was unfortunately among the 8 individuals who lost their lives in a terrible bus accident. The accident took place on Highway 101 in San Clemente, California. The bus was carrying children from the Disciples of Christ Chapel of the Canyon Church at Canoga Park. Unfortunately, the bus hit 7 other vehicles, and this led to the loss of many people. As if Debbie's demise was not enough, the family also experienced another tragic loss, the loss of their adopted son, Sandy Rogers. While he was still alive, Sandy faced a lot of personal struggles, and he was battling with substance use. In 1965, he went to serve in the U.S. Army in Germany. There, he choked at the military hospital after he had experienced excessive vomiting, which was caused by his heavy drinking and smoking. As of the time Sandy passed, he was only 18 years old. Due to these losses, the Rogers family's strength and unity were tested, but they continued to present a very strong, brave, and cheerful front when they were in the midst of people. As Roy's personal life began to face troubles, so did his professional life. In the 1950s and 60s, a cultural shift made rock and roll popular, while Western music and films declined. This hurt Roy's career, and he lost his deal with Republic Pictures when the studio shut down. Facing financial struggles, he sought new ways to support his family. Throughout this period, Roy held firm to his Christian faith, and this chapter made his spiritual life go deeper. He and his wife embraced their faith wholeheartedly. Often Roy would talk about the importance of prayer and attending church. He added that these practices were very important in handling life challenges. His faith brought him comfort in tough times, giving him strength through spiritual practices. Despite his struggles, Roy remained devoted to his family and filled their lives with love. Together with his wife, they provided a home that remained a sanctuary of love, faith, and mutual support. After a few years, Roy returned to Portsmouth, Ohio, to reflect on his life, from humble beginnings to fame and back to simplicity. While he was there, he performed, and the performance was filled with many emotions. He could not help but reflect on his extensive career and how the entertainment industry had evolved. While performing, Roy saw a boy laughing and joked, "You probably don't know who Roy Rogers is." The boy's reply made him smile. "Of course I do." "You are a legend." These words felt like music in Roy's ears. For a while, he wondered if his legacy was washed down the drain because of the new wave of music. But by hearing someone in their generation still refer to him as a legend, he knew that he was truly one. Roy Rogers spent his final days with his family, and he finally passed away on the 6th of July, 1998. The truth revealed, Julie Rogers speaks out. Recently, many rumors have been going on about how Roy Rogers was able to maintain the status of an icon till the day he passed, and his granddaughter, Julie Rogers Pomelia, has come out to reveal the truth to everyone. According to her, from the initial stage that her grandfather, Roy Rogers, started at Republic Pictures, the executives there aimed to mold him into a conventional leading man. As a result, they scrutinized his natural appearance. They would most often compare him to Western star Clark Gable, who had very distinct features that spoke volumes about the standard of Hollywood. These executives constantly looked at Rogers' naturally squinty eyes and complained about it. They did not care that his eyes reflected his part of Choctaw Native American heritage. Instead, they kept saying that it did not match their desires. So in desperation, they were willing to do any and everything just to align with his look. They gave Roy eye drops to relax his eye muscles and make them look bigger, but Roy and his fans opposed it, so the idea was dropped. After seeing that they could not change Roy's facial features, they opted for his physique. According to Julie, they needed her grandfather to be muscular and robust, as they needed him to embody the action hero archetype. So to achieve this, they enforced unconventional methods. They instructed him to perform daily handstands and other exercises to boost his physique to their desired standards, and Roy agreed. He was even seen walking between sets on his hands. As he began transforming into the image they wanted, the audience began to frown on this as well, and the executives also had to put an end to it. To a great extent, Roy showed that unlike most people in Hollywood who loved all the glamorous social events, he did not care for it. He was extremely shy, and he preferred to live a tranquil life. Such life, however, was the exact opposite of what the industry stood for. Still, Roy could not hide it, so he often avoided most high-profile gatherings, and he chose to spend his time with his family and friends. Roy was known for his humility and reluctance to embrace all the extravagant lifestyle that came with being a Hollywood celebrity. He was very authentic. He would sometimes resist pressures from people to do things that just didn't feel right to him. This humility made his fans love him more, as he was one of a kind in their generation. In her memoir, Your Heroes, My Grandparents, A Granddaughter's Love, Julie Rogers offered more intimate glimpses of Roy Roger and Dale Evans' lives. She discussed in detail the challenges he faced maintaining his identity amid every pressure Hollywood faces. She also discussed their family's personal struggles and how they overcame them with faith, love, and unity. Looking at the time and age that we are in, can stars of today get away with defying almost every law in the industry book the way Roy Rogers did? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories from Hollywood's golden age.